Okay. I'm gonna move him here. I think... I know. If you watched my previous Let's Plays of this, you'll know that I have, like, oddly enough, a really specific order that people have to be in. I don't know why. I've always been this way when I play games like this. So normally, like, frontliner, rogue, and then it's Lan, Ember, Darren. Very specific. Yes. All right. Time to go find our little fire child. Okay. I'm really curious if Ulbrich has any lines here. And because we've pretty much heard... I actually have never heard any of Nenio's lines either when picking up Ember. So this will actually be really interesting because I've only heard Camelia's lines.
We'll make this quick. She won't feel a thing.
I don't know. Can we really do this?
Listen, we don't have a choice. There are demons everywhere. What else would you have us do?
There's always a choice. Let me just... Abby wants to yell that from the top of her lungs. A group of knights surround a young elven girl. She's dressed in rags that barely cover the hideous scars on her body. The beggar girl is on her knees, watching placidly as the people argue heatedly around her. It is as if she doesn't sense the looming threat at all. A black crow flies in agitated circles above her head.
In Iomede's name, we're sorry, girl, but it is our duty. We have to do this, not for our own sake, but for the sake of everyone who can still be saved from the demons. If we don't win this battle, you won't have long to live anyway.
The knight brings a sword up above the girl's head.
They're insane.
I know.
We've got to do something.
We will.
I understand. You're scared. You feel powerless. You think this will help. You don't have to justify yourselves to me. Just do what you've decided to do.
The girl smiles serenely as though she isn't at risk of imminent death. What's going on?
We...
You... what?
Our weapons barely scratch the demons' hides. We're sacrificing this girl to Iomede so we can consecrate our weapons with her innocent blood and gain the power to destroy the spawn of the abyss.
It's so culty. I don't understand. Like, it's so... like, literally, they sound like the worst kind of cultists and they don't even realize it.
It's extreme, but we have no other choice. We have to defend this city somehow, or else we'll all perish, including her.
Okay, let's see. So who told you to do this? It sounds like cultists.
Good point.
Yeah.
Whose idea was this? I think it was yours.
The knight looks at his comrades in suspicion.
My idea? I was against the whole thing right from the start. Who said we needed to make a sacrifice? Wasn't it you? You can't blame anyone else for that.
I think it's so interesting, though, that the moment that you point out that this sounds culty, they're like, oh my gosh, it does. Like, what? Did you not think that beforehand?
Please don't fight. All of you are good people, defenders of the city. You just made a mistake. Please don't hurt them.
The little girl is defending the people who wanted to slaughter her a minute ago.
Yep.
She's either a saint or she's insane. Maybe the two together.
Maybe.
Hey, I know her. I see her all the time on the street. She's a couple of cards short of a full deck, if you know what I mean.
Well, Jeff!
Hi. Remember when we used to play together when we were little? But then you went and got all big. And I stayed the same for some reason.
Ember.
Huh? I played with you? Pull the other one.
Well, Jeff!
You did. We played tag and hide and seek. Then you and the bigger boys came up with the game where you all threw stones at me. You laughed so hard, it made me happy too. But then you grew up and went away to do grown-up things. Wanna play with me now?
For the love of... Canabras is too damn small.
Yeah, but don't be mean to Ember, Woljif. Go to Defender's Heart Tavern. That's where the survivors are gathering, and don't even think of doing anything so disgusting ever again, or else Abby is gonna come at you while you're sleeping and you won't like it.
Thank you.
They're gone, and they all lived. I was sure that someone would die today. So many people have died here already. But we are still alive for some reason. Strange, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, isn't it, Ember? The elf girl smiles at you. The crow alights on her shoulder and looks at you with eyes that are much too intelligent for an ordinary bird.
But you shouldn't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a silly girl, really.
No, you're not, Ember. Who are you?
Call me Ember. I live here, on the streets, for many years now. But there's nothing to say about me.
I don't think you're an ordinary girl, and that crow you have there, it's not ordinary either, is it, Ember?
No, don't be silly. I'm very ordinary. Well, I know different types of tricks, but Soot taught me those. Now Soot here, she truly is unusual. She's clever and she can talk, but only to me. She teaches me magic tricks and lots of other stuff. I don't know what I'd do without her.
A sorceress, a mad one too. Ulbrich grabs a charm on his chest and brings it to his lips and whispers something and blows on it. Turn away before she puts a hex on you. Ulbrich, no! I thought you were gonna be a friend of Ember. She's not gonna put a hex on us. How strange. She gives Ulbrich a closer look. You're different from everyone else in this city, but you speak just like they do. Ooh. Ulbrich shivers under the girl's gaze and blows on the amulet one more time. She like put him in his place. I love it. I want to see how this relationship continues on. Magic tricks, you say, you could prove useful. So that's interesting. So magic tricks. Okay, or was this always the, never mind, that was always. You could prove useful, come with me.
Sure, let's go.
Okay, now I'm like super curious for some reason. Actually, well, yeah, we'll do that. Well, I want this. Like how this all works with Ember and Ulbrich. Because, well, I don't necessarily agree with the way Ulbrich responded given the time period he's from and what's happened since. This is super interesting. So we've got that. So I have his claws out. You can have his griffin aspect come out, but these fights are so short. I don't think it's really necessary right now. Dun dun. Okay. So now we have Ember. So all we have to do is go get Darren, right? And then like we'll have the full cast and crew, which should be interesting. Oh, we gotta go deal with Whoozy Watchit. Whoozy Watchit, that's so descriptive. Holleran. No, Abby, did you miss? Maybe? Abby's missing everything story continues. Oh my gosh, they're so bottlenecked here. Dun, dun. What is our formation right now? This is why they're so bottlenecked. Dun, dun. Kian should be up front, I think, for now. Well, let's do... Oh, let's not... Maybe we shouldn't put Abby at the front, though. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we should put this. I don't know how we're gonna change it later. That's good for now. That's a terrible formation, Plex. What are you even doing right now? I don't know. I'm just hitting buttons. Okay, we need to cross this bridge. Thank goodness we built it. Now,
I won't let you hurt my friends.
This will be interesting. So good. Did I make it a little too easy? Maybe the difficulty got lowered just a little, but we're fine. It's fine. This is what I'm interested in. My beloved brother, I admire your zeal, of course, but would you not agree this is hardly the time to be standing guard over a hole that no one will ever emerge from? Or perhaps you're concerned that someone will decide to go for a nighttime stroll and accidentally fall into it. Such foresight is laudable, but do you really need so many soldiers for such a task? Can't your warriors be put to better use, for instance, fighting demons or clearing rubble while people are trapped beneath it? That might still be alive. The face of his golden curled of this golden curled Azamar is beautiful even by the standards of his kind, in whose veins run the blood of angels. His melodious voice sounds cheerful, but bitter reproach simmers in his gaze. The old gray-haired fellow seems vaguely familiar. Isn't he the leader of the local inquisitors? By any chance, be careful with him, girl. Those people place no value on science, and they believe that ignoring high-level scientific questions to be the best response strategy. Incidentally, did you know that the fastest way to draw the attention of Iomede's inquisitors is a heartily bellowed hail Baphomet? After that, you will have precisely 3 seconds to explain yourself, so it's best to prepare what you wish to say in advance. I love Nenio. Don't you dare call me brother, heretic. The signs of recent hard fighting are obvious in this stern old man. His armor is dented and covered in blood, and his unnatural pallor suggests something more dangerous than wounds inflicted by claws and fangs. Nevertheless, his gaze is stony, and his voice, accustomed to barking orders, is harsh and clipped. How dare you accuse me of doing nothing to protect the city, especially now when followers of your temple were caught committing treason? To my mind, you are no different than the demon worshippers, those miscreants, those beasts that are digging under the city walls. Everyone knows, my dearest prelate, that in your zealous pursuit of order in the city, you have long since forgotten how to tell friend from foe and good from evil. That's what happened with my adepts, whose acts of treason was a genuine attempt to save the city, and yet again I am forced to repeat myself. While we are wasting time on pointless quarrels, people are dying under rubble in our city. People whom we could have saved if you would only set your soldiers to the task and not kept them here, surrounding a useless and utterly harmless hole in the ground. Harmless? Well, if it's on your say-so, then that must mean there is someone down there. Your associates, no doubt, and they're just waiting for us to abandon our post before they slink out and try again. The old man notices your approach. And you! I remember you. You appeared in my city the day the demons attacked and Tarendalev died. What are you doing here? Answer at once, or I'll have you strung up by your ankles before you know it. Don't think that the demons have wounded me. I still have enough strength to take on 100 of your sort. The Inquisitor looks at you suspiciously. And who are you? Might you be a witch, perchance? I can sense a witch a mile away. Where there are witches, there is always trouble and corruption. They draw power from sources unknown, curse people left and right, and then demand to be treated like ordinary spellcasters. And what is this hideous creature? He peers at Lan with suspicion. Lan, at your service, the mongrel ducks his head in a bow. My forebears fought in the First Crusade. I've lived in Canabras my whole life, and you haven't seen me before. Oh, you haven't seen me before? It must be because you don't ever venture into our underground district. We have been meaning to complain to the city's authorities that our paving stones have been in need of repair for a long time. The First Crusade? So you're a mongrel? You obviously know human speech surprisingly well, in fact. All right, let's be off with you. The prelate looks at you. If he causes any trouble, I shall hold you responsible. Come to think of it, you still haven't told me what you're doing, or who you are. Who are you to be asking me such questions? I find it passing strange that you don't already know who I am. Holleran Shapik, prelate of Canabras. The Inquisitor by grace of Iomede, defender of the city by the grace of Her Majesty Queen Galfrey against threats from within and without. And as we can see, you've done a sterling job protecting the city. The golden-curled Azamar flashes a flinty smile. I'm Remian of Edme, prior of the Temple of Desna, which alas currently lies in ruins. Wise Holleran here believes it is vital to guard this hole in the ground, from which he is certain demons will emerge at any moment. I have been trying to convince him that the city has far more urgent matters to deal with. For instance, rescuing those currently dying under rubble. You know what? There may in fact be one matter that is more important than guarding this hole. I put it off, and look where it led us. I should have had you hung from the gates back when you dared to defend your gang of delinquent demon collaborators. If the Sarkorians had hanged Arilu Vorlish while they had the chance, they never would have been at war. I won't repeat their mistake. I won't hesitate any longer. Soldiers, seize this scum. Prelates see reason. These are frightening times, but threatening to hang someone without trial? That's unworthy of a servant of Iomede. The old man fixes his gaze on Sela. Lest you forget, girl. We may serve the same goddess, but you are not an inquisitor. Don't question the way I choose to serve Iomede. I won't question yours. So behold, I bear the gift any who die. I am no enemy of yours. What precisely are you accusing him of? Treason. Not long before the city was attacked, several followers from his temple tried to secretly access the wardstone and perform an unknown ritual over it. Holleran trembles with fury. The wardstones of Canabras, the gift from Iomade, the bringer of light, wrought by the hands of her herald, the first in the chain. And followers of that crazy runt of a goddess trying to meddle with it using their magic after hearing a voice in their dreams. My soldiers almost had them caught when Ramian got in the way, allowing the traitors to go to ground. I made a mistake. I didn't have him locked in a cell and interrogated within an inch of his life. And now the city lies in ruins. It's time to rectify that mistake. I told you before, and I will tell you again. My people foresaw the attack on the city. They knew the wardstones already carried the seed of corruption, and they were simply trying to heal it. I've heard similar claims before. Now, where was it? Ah, yes, from Staunton Vane, the traitor who brought down Dresden. The lesson of the past has taught us a great deal, and that is why I never believed you or your mob's lies for a second, and I was right. I know in previous episodes when Holleran was a topic of conversation, I had a lot to say. So if you're curious about like OG original first run, or at least first YouTube run thoughts, make sure you go check that out. But it's interesting here though that the city fell and he's blaming Staunton Vane for it. However, what if it was the corruption in the wardstones that caused it? You know what I mean? Like, there's never any thought with Holleran outside of his own limited, narrow scope of the world. And if it doesn't fit that, it gets deleted. Like, there is no way to consider it at all because we can't, right? Like, it's not how that exists. Like, it's Holleran's thoughts behind everything, or it's nothing at all. And I find that to be really interesting, and it's very telling of his character. And he's scared. I think I made that point before. But these are the actions of somebody who is terrified. And Holleran is terrified, and he's lashing out like any other scared individual or animal would be in his case. Except when Holleran lashes out, leagues of people die. You know what I mean? Did we do this before? I think we kept him alive last time, and honestly, that was so difficult to do. Can Abby do it a second time? I don't know, but we're gonna try this. Behold, I bear the gift of an angel who died in the caves. I'm no enemy of yours. The old man frowns and whispers something, a prayer, a spell. With each word, his face relaxes. You're telling the truth. The light in your hand was wrought by the power of heaven. I will keep an open mind with regard to you, stranger, and later, under less fractious circumstances, I'd like to ask you about how you came to receive this gift. But that can wait. Now you must deal with this filth once and for all. No! No. Does this make you the murder? Or does it do, like, alright, listen, we showed him the sword. The Asmar holds up his hands in a placating gesture. Stop! You are the defenders of what remains of Canabras. Can't you think of anything better to do than be at each other's throats in the ruins of the city? Ramian looks at the prelate. You're a fool, Holleran. You're a zealot and a murderer, but you're a fool first and foremost. I told you that the wardstones were weakened, and you wouldn't listen. I warned you that the city was going to be attacked. You shooed me away. The truth is that my young adepts were trying to save the wardstones, and you stopped them. Of course, those truly responsible for this tragedy are the demons, but you have done nothing to prevent it. And now you would still rather kill an innocent person and perish yourself than admit that you were wrong, as always. So, once again, I actually think Ramian brings up some really good points here. Holleran is a zealot. Like, that's what he is. That, at his core, that is Holleran. And now, once again, though, you almost see through this, right? The fear. Like, at its base core, the fear. Like, I don't necessarily truly believe that Holleran is evil to his core. What I believe is that he's terrified. He's terrified of making the same mistakes that he made in the past. He's terrified of making mistakes that others have made in the past. And that guides all of his decisions. And you could almost say the fear has corrupted him in a lot of ways. And you see that in this dialogue especially. He wouldn't listen that the city was going to be attacked because he was afraid of it. So it's better to ignore it. Just turn the other cheek. That the wardstones were weakened. He was too afraid to deal with that head on, because if the wardstones were weakened, then there was something wrong with potentially a gift from Iomade. If the wardstones were weakened, then that would mean that the whole chain is potentially weak. that would mean demons could attack. And they did. And now we're seeing the consequences of it because he was afraid to deal with it. And now he would rather condemn somebody to death. He would rather stay here and guard this hole because he believes that the others are down in there to try to stop them from coming out so he could punish them than he would to save the people in the city because he's too afraid to face them. And at the end of the day, I do truly believe that that is part of what Holleran is just a big old ball of fear. He's so afraid to go help the people in the city because then he has to face his mistakes. If he stands here and he guards this hole, he doesn't have to face them. He doesn't have to face the ruins of the city. He doesn't have to stare any of this in the face. Why would he? He's doing what he thinks is right now, or at least what he can stomach. Bye-bye, Rayman. We'll see you later. He fled, the heretic. He no doubt is expecting me to rush off in pursuit, but that won't work on me. He turns his attention to you. What about you? If you truly have been marked out for a gift from heaven, this is your chance to save the city. Go. Bring back that filthy traitor. I'm almost certain that he and his cronies were helping the demons, either knowingly or unknowingly. Their attempt to bewitch the wardstone is clear proof. He must be captured. Let's see. Why are you obsessed with finding enemies everywhere you look? Why? Why? You must not be from these parts or you wouldn't have asked such a question. I look for enemies everywhere because our enemies are everywhere. Who are we at war with? Demons and cultists. They are masters of deception. They worm their way into your favor and masquerade in all manner of false guise. Do you think Dresden was taken by force? No, by trickery. We were in it not. Were it not for me, Canobras would have gone the same way long ago. Captured out from under our noses. Now listen, what I'm about to tell you, this is a long time ago. I was very young then and I had just joined the crusade. Back then, Canobras didn't have a garrison so much as a public thoroughfare. Anyone who wanted could just stroll into the city. One day at dawn, a group of refugees came in up to the city gates. Bold as brass, the guards let them in, and why not? For no one was ever turned away. 'Twas no matter. Everyone was welcome in our city. If you came from Mendev or if you'd hauled yourself here from across the seas, the crusade accepted all and sundry. But on this occasion, we paid dearly for our laxity. And just as soon as those innocent lambs entered the city, they transformed into demons and rushed towards the wardstone, slaughtering everyone who tried to stop them. 62 people died in less than a minute. The demons used their mutilated corpses to desecrate the obelisk. None of them dared go near it. The light of the goddess burned them all. So they threw the blood from afar, spattering the wardstone from every direction. And the lead demon, an eyeless beast, Minago is her name, jeered and gloated, saying we mortals had been sitting ducks. And the creature was right. We let our guard down, and we got what we deserved. Now, just for a second, though, you gotta think that this sounds like firsthand knowledge, right? So you could safely assume, I think, that Holleran actually watched this happen firsthand. So if we go off of that assumption, you'll know, like, this is horrific. He watched 62 people die theoretically, or at least heard about it or saw the carnage of it after, in less than a minute. That changes a person. There's no way you watch this happen. There's no way you watch demons throw desecrated body parts at the obelisk and watch the blood spatter, and then you gotta think about what else comes with that, right? Blood, guts, gore, all of it. Just body kind of thing. So we watched that happen, and that, like, can you imagine what kind of fear that would instill? He never wants to see that again. He never wants anybody else to have to see that again. And so then you can see where the fear was born from. The bloodbath came to be known as the Red Morning Massacre, and it burned into the townsfolk's memories. Since then, Canobras has adopted different practices. Heretics, cultists, spies, all the rabble who coveted Arilu's glory, we drove them out of the city. Haven't had any trouble here since. Many have come here, even in the Baylor Kormazade. I don't know why I still have trouble with that name. Like, I say it fine in my head, but then when you try to say it, it's like just a mouthful of bleh. They all have been sent straight back to where they came from, or else they were killed for their trouble. You see, Daskari himself had to crawl out of the abyss and come here. The goddess cursed him in order to break through our defense, and what did he do? He left again, and we're still fighting now that is what vigilance and discipline can do. So I think that this is also brought up again later on, but you're seeing here the beginnings of this, right? It was burned into the townsfolk's memories. So because everybody else witnessed this too, you now know why they let Holleran take over, or at least the older generation, like the people that were around when this all happened. You see why they let Holleran do what he did, because they were terrified. Who wants to watch that happen again and again? Like, you see it once and you'll do whatever you can to make sure that you never have to see it again, that your children, that your friends, kids, that your parents, whoever, never, ever, ever have to see it again. So they gave Holleran the keys to the city, literally and figuratively. Did Ramian really warn you about the attack? Those crazy Desnans were always bursting into my study with their incoherent prophecies that came to them in their dreams. I won't lie, sometimes what they said did come to pass, but can we really rely on the woolly dreams of heretics over the cold, hard facts of intelligence reports? Plenty of demons could have easily fooled them and whispered a treasonous plan in their dreams. Those lunatics would have only been too happy to listen. So, the interesting thing here is, though, right? He says intelligence reports. The cold, hard facts of intelligence reports. It doesn't take into account, though, that intelligence reports could have theoretically been just like changed up by demons. Who's to say the person that wrote the report wasn't being influenced by a demon? Who's to say that the intelligence report hasn't been changed out to be something else or anything like that, like any manner of false information? So you can't take them at cold, hard facts. As I mentioned previously, what Holleran really needed to do was take into account what the Desnans had said, and then the same thing with the intelligence reports, and see where things overlapped, to see if something made more sense together, like when you put the two bits, and looked at it all as one big intelligence report. This time, Mr. Curls for Brains came to me and declared that demons were about to attack the city and that the Wardstone's power was diminished by some kind of contamination or taint. Iomade, forgive me for even repeating the words. After uttering such blasphemy, he should have been locked up along with his followers and interrogated, but instead I simply increased the surveillance on them. And what next? My people caught them red-handed trying to attack the Wardstone with unknown magic, and not 3 days later the demons attacked the city. There's an obvious connection between these events. There is, he just doesn't want to face it. Whether deliberately or under demonic influence, the Desnans played right into the hands of Discari's hordes, and they almost left the city completely defenseless. Ramian covered for his people the whole time and helped them escape my guards. After that, what else can he be but a traitor and a heretic? I actually don't know if he's referred to Ramian by his name. Okay, so he has here when he must be captured, but I think it's interesting that here he calls him Curls for Brains, and like I think he's given him a few like nicknames, if you will, in a few other bits of dialogue. Oh, so he did say Ramian covered for his people. So it's like when it's almost like a thing or an event or something that happened that he's having a hard time coming to terms with because he might have been wrong. He doesn't call him Ramian. But when it's something as easy as he covered for his people, that's something that he can easily swallow. But he's almost removing Ramian as being a person when he calls him, like, this time Mr. Curls for Brains came to me and declared that the demons were about to attack the city and the Wardstone's power had been diminished. That he knows is now wrong, the way he went about it, the way he reacted to it. So he can't call Ramian. But here, Ramian did cover for his people and he helped them escape. That he can easily justify. He can call him Ramian all he wants. He doesn't have to remove him from being a person. And it's just really interesting. And it also just shows how good the writing is in this game, that you can kind of see these different distinctions come about, and how Holleran's personality, while Holleran doesn't necessarily last, I want to say like 90% of players probably kill him in this first chapter. He's a very short-lived character for all intents and purposes, but he has so much lore, so much well-written dialogue. It's just absolutely incredible. There's nothing dangerous in this hole. You have no reason to guard it. You told me yourself you received a light-bringing gift from an angel who perished in the caves below our feet. It is no secret that those passages are teeming with dangerous creatures that could kill anyone, even a warrior of Hemen. Demons and demonic offspring love to roam about the underground. That's why I will keep an eye on this hole. If the beast decide to attack here, we'll be ready. All right, where can I find him? How should I know? The weasel can't have gone far. He turned invisible, probably hunkered down in some hole, like the traitorous little rat he is, and he'll be sitting trembling and waiting till he's dragged out of here. All right, let's go. Go then, if you have to. It would be good of you if you could return with the head of that scum. Ember peers intently at Holleran. I remember you. When Father and I arrived in the city, you met us. What is this gibberish? As if I have nothing better to do than arrange meetings with vagrants. But it's true. You and the other knights tied us to stakes and started lighting the bonfire. Father died, and then one of your knights changed his mind and pulled me from the flames. But then he died too. Don't you remember? If you were burned, then it was with good reason. You say some traitor helped you escape from the fire, and that is a crime in itself, which means that you've been evading justice all these years. If it weren't for the invasion, I would review your case and see that your sentence was finally fulfilled. You're lucky that we have more important things to deal with. He doesn't look the way he does now, all wrinkled and gray. He was young with a big mustache. Ember smiles broadly, draws a large, bushy mustache in the air with her fingers. He probably forgot all about me. It was a long time ago. I don't want to say, but I do want to say one thing. I'm not cross with him. This knight is a true hero. He's just really, really wanted to protect his city. Only he got all mixed up about who was good and who was evil. And I don't think Ember's wrong here. Like, I don't know if I've ever thought that Ember is wrong. But it's true, though. He really does want to protect his city, but he's gotten it all mixed up about who is good and who is evil, and he has a really, really hard time differentiating friend from foe. You forgive him after what he did to you? He thought he was doing what was right. How do you know? Maybe you've done something thinking it was a good thing, but you were really doing a bad thing that hurt someone. But what if I've done the same thing? You can't get angry at people for making mistakes when you might have been no better than them. Holleran, you sent an innocent child to be burned. Do you want to ask for forgiveness? Yeah, hardly. Anyone can look innocent. How did this girl manage to survive the fire? And what about that crow that's always flying around her? I advise you to take a closer look at this innocent little lamb of yours, if you ask me. She looks highly suspicious. Let's go, Ember. Yes, let's go. Bye-bye, kind knight. She waves to Holleran with a carefree smile. He grimaces and turns away. All right. What Kian said. I'm keeping an eye on you, Holleran. Let's do this. And then we're gonna go find Ramian, and then time to get Darren.